And so pages 12 and 13 is adding and subtracting, which, believe it or not, is much more difficult than multiplying and dividing. So we're going to start today with multiplying and dividing. Multiplying, dividing, rational expressions is much simpler than adding and subtracting. So we're going to ease into it today with multiply and divide. So again, I am at the top of page 14, so please get yourself situated right there. And again, today hopefully won't feel that bad, and tomorrow we will do a work day. So please make sure you are taking notes right now so that you are prepared for your work day, and then that will lead us right into the weekend, and we'll feel good about that. Alrighty. So when we are multiplying rational expressions, remember, rational expressions are where we have a fraction with a polynomial on top and a polynomial on bottom. And we're going to have two of them, and we're going to multiply them together. Sometimes your calculator can just handle them. So like we did when we were simplifying, sometimes your calculator can just handle them. So if I did 5 over 12 times 16 over 15, there's no reason why when you are doing remote learning that you don't put this in your calculator. And I'm fine with that. There's no reason why I don't do 5 over 12 times 16 over 15. And I'm cool with it. So in my calculator, I could do 5 over 12 times 16 over 15. And to a fraction, I want my answer to be in the form of a fraction. That would give me 4 over 9. Alrighty. So you're like, okay, why did I get such a warning on how hard this would be? Well, my calculator can only handle numbers. My calculator can't handle anything of the sorts of variables. And we're going to jump into some variables. Alrighty. So when I have numbers, by all means, feel free to use your calculator. So my calculator can handle that, but it's never going to be that easy. Rational expressions very often use variables, and so when I get into something like this, I've got to do some steps. You are always going to want to clean this up, and that's what we did in Target A. You're going to want to clean these up, and I'll show you what that means. So when you have these, we're not actually going to do a whole bunch of multiplying because that's going to take absolutely forever. We are going to first see if anything can cancel. We are going to first clean this up and see if we can make our workload a lot smaller. So in order to clean this up, we are actually going to expand this. So we are going to take everything that we see here and expand it. So when I have 3x squared, I'm going to rewrite it as 3x times x. So I'm going to rewrite this 3x squared as 3x times x over 2y. There's nothing to expand there. Times. Then I'm going to rewrite this over here, 4y to the third power. That means I have 4 y's on top and I have 3 y's on top. So remember, we did this in Target A. I have 3 y's. That exponent of 3 means I have 3 y's on top. So 1, oh, I'm still erasing, 2, 3, over 3x. There's nothing to really do there. And when I mean to clean up, the idea for multiplying divide is to make your workload smaller. So you are going to see if you can cancel anything. So I'm going to see if I can cancel anything. We only can cancel top to bottom. So I can only cancel anything on top with anything on the bottom. So just like we did in Target A, I notice, well, I have a 3 on top and I have a 3 on bottom. Those can cancel. I have an x on top. That can cancel with one of the x's on the bottom. And lastly, I have a y on top that I can cancel with a y on the bottom. Now, I hope you agree with me that there is nothing else I can cancel with that is on top still. I have an x of 4 and 2 y's on top, and then just a 2 on bottom. There's nothing that can cancel. So I'm going to rewrite what I have in the correct order. So what I have an x of 4 and 2 y's on top. When I'm rewriting what I have on top, you always put the number first. So I have a 4, an x, and I have 2 y's left. So this is what I have left, a 4, an x, and 2 y's left. When I have 2 y's, I'm just going to write that as y squared. And then on bottom, I have a 2. Now you want this to be as simplified as possible. So one last thing I want that I can do here is I can simplify 4 over 2. 4 over 2, 4 divided by 2 can simplify to just 2. So 4 over 2 is equal to 2, and then I still have my xy squared. So I went and took this really big equation right here, and my answer was this. Now, I didn't do a lot of multiplication. Although that did say multiply, I actually canceled a whole bunch of stuff out. But if I took the time to multiply, which would take me forever to multiply all of those, my answer would be this. Now, I hope you agree with me, though, that there is a lot of work that I needed to show to get to my answer. Some of you on your quiz yesterday went from something like this to your answer of this, and it's kind of sketchy on how you get to that. So you have to be showing all of your work. Do you have any questions? If you do, please put them in the chat. But do you have any questions right now? The whole idea for multiplying is to expand and simplify. All right, let's do a whole bunch more examples. Let's do it again. So now I'm in example C. So again, if you're taking notes for the first time and you don't have the packet, that's fine. I'm happy you're taking notes. Just find a piece of paper and write these problems down. They're not a lot of problems to write down. Alrighty, so I have this problem. So remember, I have two rational expressions being multiplied by each other. First thing I need to do is clean up everything. Before I can even do that, I notice that I have something in parentheses with an exponent outside. We've talked about this a few times in this class, but not really consistently. When I have something like that, that shows me I need to take care of that. This 2 right here tells me that I have 2 x plus 2's. I have 2 x plus 2. So I'm going to rewrite this whole problem expanding this. So anything that you can expand, you're going to want to expand. So only if it's outside, only if you have an exponent outside a pair of parentheses, you need to take care of that. That means I have 2 sets of x plus 2's. So I'm going to rewrite that as x plus 2 because I had 2 of them. That's me rewriting this over 6x times 3x over x squared minus 4. So everything else stayed the same, but I needed to take care of this right here, and I rewrote it right there. So if anything expands, you're going to want to expand it. I'm not going to rewrite this as x times x minus 4. I'm going to keep that as x squared minus 4. I'm going to keep that as x squared minus 4. And then your idea here is anything that can factor, you're going to want to factor. So that's part of cleaning up. So you're going to clean up, factor, and cancel. Clean up, factor, cancel. Up here, we didn't have to factor anything because we were just dealing with expanding x squareds, y cubes, all that good stuff. Nothing necessarily factored. Here, I need to factor something. I hope you agree with me that I can factor this x squared minus 4. This is a difference of 2 squares problem. I told you we need to get much more familiar with this, and I do believe that you are getting more familiar with this. But I can take this x squared minus 4, and I need to factor this. All right, that is the only thing that factors out of everything else. So I'm going to rewrite everything else. Everything else is going to stay the same. So I'm going to have x plus 2, 6x over 6x times 3x. And then I hope you agree with me that since this is a difference of two squares problem, I take the square root of both things. I have x and the square root of 4 is 2. So I have x plus 2. I take those two things and I add them to each other. And I take those two things and I subtract them by each other. Any questions so far? And now anything that will cancel, you are going to cancel. Alrighty, so one thing that I see that's going to cancel is a pair of x plus 2's. I have one on top and one on bottom. And then I have an x that will cancel on top and on bottom. And that's the only things that will cancel. That is the only things that will cancel. Nothing will cancel with this x plus 2 because this is an x minus 2. Those will not cancel each other out. That's not the same thing. And then I have a 3 on top and a 6 on bottom. So if I rewrite what I have left, I have 3 x plus 2. Again, the number that you have, that's the number always goes in front. The number always goes in front. Over 6 x minus 2. And then you want your answer as simplified as possible. And so I notice if you want to, the last thing you want to do is double check if your two numbers on the outside can simplify. These two numbers can simplify. 3 over 6 does simplify to 1/2. 1/2 x plus 2, I still have x minus 2. That is my answer. Questions so far? Okay. You're going to see much more. I have at least 3 more examples to do with you. Okay. I'll give you a second to finish writing if you need to. And I'm going to put clean up, factor, cancel, and then I'm going to also write simplify because I want you to know to simplify any numbers. So this is the key. We want these steps here. Simplify any numbers you may have. Alrighty, let's do this next one. This one here, in the chat, please. In the chat, is there anything that factors? Not cancels, but is there any factoring I need to do? Or is this already factored? In the chat, yes or no? Is there anything that factors? In this problem D, is there anything that is going to factor? What is x minus 5 going to factor then to? No, there's actually nothing that's going to factor here. I can't take out a greatest common factor. I can't take the square roots. I can't take anything out. This is already simplified. Anytime you have x plus or minus just one number, that's already factored. If you have x squared minus a number, that needs to be, you need to take the square roots. If you have x squared plus some number, x plus a number, you need to factor that. Or if you have a greatest common factor. But this is, there's nothing to factor here. everything is already simplified, so there's nothing to clean up. I can just go ahead and cancel something. Something on top that cancels out with something on bottom, I hope you agree with me, is the x plus 8s. And my answer is just what I'm left with. I am left with an x plus 3 on top and an x minus 5 on bottom, and that is my answer. All of that, I didn't have to go through all of that multiplying. Any questions there? Alrighty, that was page 14. Let's do page 15. So I'm on the top of page 15, if you will follow me there. Alrighty, I have x minus 3 over x plus 2 times, lots of good stuff on the other end. Now I need to factor everything. So again, my first step is to factor everything. There's nothing to clean up. I don't have any exponents I need to expand or anything. Oops, factor up. I need to factor everything that can. So there's nothing to clean up. I need to factor though. I hope you agree with me though. This is what I was just talking about. Every time I just have x plus or minus one number, x by itself, plus or minus one number, there's nothing to factor. So this doesn't factor and this doesn't factor. But over here, I have x squared plus a number plus another number. I need to factor that. And then I also have x squared minus a number. I need to factor that. So I need to factor both of those. Alrighty, so this side needs some work. This side doesn't factor, so I'm just going to rewrite it. X minus 3 over x plus 2. Alrighty. And now I need to factor these. Now, when I have three terms, I need to find the factors of 6 that add to 5. I want to find the factors of 6 that add to 5. Well, the factors of 6 are 1 and 6 and 2 and 3. The ones that will add to 5, where everything is positive, will only be 2 and 3. 6 plus 1 will only give me 7. So I want 2 and 3. So x plus 2, x plus 3. Alrighty, divide that by, and then the bottom here, I'm not going to find the factors of 9 that add to, well, that doesn't even make sense. I have two things that are being subtracted, and my first thing is an x squared. So again, that's a difference of 2 squares problem. So they're not going anywhere. The difference of 2 squares are not going anywhere. So I'm going to take the square root of both things. I have the square root of x squared is x, and the square root of 9 is 3. And I take those two things and I add them together, x plus 3. And I take those two things and I subtract them by each other, x minus 3. What questions do you have on my factoring in the chat? Any questions? Alrighty. So now let's cancel. Something that I see that cancels on top with on bottom, I see an x minus 3 on top and on bottom. Somebody in the chat, please tell me something else that will cancel. In the chat though, what is something else that will cancel? The x plus 2's will cancel, perfect. And what's something else that will cancel? X plus 3's will also cancel. Look here, make sure you make note of this. Everything canceled. When everything cancels, my answer is 1. When everything cancels, my answer is 1. The problem doesn't just disappear. So the problem doesn't just disappear. When everything cancels, my answer is 1. All right, so you can't put 0 because the problem didn't disappear. But when everything cancels, my answer is 1. All righty. That's a fun problem. That's my fave. We are not going to do F, but I am going to show you divide. Divide is just like multiply. Any questions before I move on to division? The key so far, just to summarize, the key is to clean anything up. What I mean by clean up is expanding any exponents. You only expand exponents if they are not in parentheses. Or if they are outside, I'm sorry, if they are attached to numbers like this, 3x squared, 4y to the third power. But if they are attached to something like the difference of 2 squares, you do not clean up exponents that happen for a problem like this. X squared minus 4. Do not do x times x minus 4. That's not a thing. So clean up anything that cleans up, then factor everything that factors, and then cancel. And your answer is just what you have left. We're not really multiplying anything here. Same thing, that's why we can do division in the same day. So division is at the bottom of page 15. Dividing is the same exact thing as multiplying, but you instead multiply by the reciprocal. Reciprocal means flip the fraction. So I'm going to show you, but it's the same exact steps. We just need to flip the fraction. Flip the second fraction. So it's the same exact steps, except you're going to set it up just a little different, and then you're going to do all the same things. So dividing is the same thing, but once you see you are dividing, you need to do one thing in the beginning, and then you can do all the same steps. So I notice that I have 2 rational expressions that are being divided. I'm going to rewrite the second fraction, but after I flip it. So for an example, if I were to take 2/3 and divide it by 5/6, I really could do this math by doing 2/3 and multiplying it. So I'm going to take the division, change it to multiplication, and I'm going to flip the second fraction. So division is the same as multiplying by the reciprocal. So you change division to multiply. That's why I say it's the same, and you flip the fraction. Then all the steps are the same. And then again, your calculator can handle this one, which would be 12 over 15. Alrighty. So again, the very first thing, so let's do this problem right here. I keep the first fraction, 7x to the third power over z. I change the division to multiply because we're comfortable with multiplication. It's the same as multiplying, so we need to change that to multiply. And we flip the second fraction, just flip it over. The 3 goes on top now, and the 5z to the third power goes on bottom. Now this just becomes a problem that we did before. Now I can do the rest of the steps like we just did. Now this is a problem where I need to clean it up though. I need to expand this. So I see that I have 7x to the third power. So I'm going to rewrite that as 7 times x divided by just z. So there's nothing to clean up there. Times 3 on top, just 3, over 5. Z to the third power, I can take that and write it as z times z times z. Okay. And listen carefully, there is actually going to be nothing here that is going to cancel because listen, you only cancel top to bottom. So what I cannot do, don't do this, I cannot cancel this z and this z because they are both on the bottom. You do not cancel bottom to bottom. If there was a z on top, which there's not, I could cancel, but there's nothing that cancels here. So I just rewrite what I have nicely. So this is how I rewrite what I have nicely. I have 7 times 3 on top. So I'm going to remember my numbers go in front. 7 times 3 is 21. And then I have 3 x's that follow that. So 3 x's would be x to the 3rd power. Divided by, I cleaned up the top. That's just what I have left on top. The number on bottom that I have is 5. The number goes in the front, so 5. And then I have a total of 1, 2, 3, 4 z's on bottom. I have 4 z's on bottom, so z to the 4th. 21 over 5 does not simplify to anything, so that is my answer. So this problem was a little unique because nothing canceled, and when nothing cancels, you just rewrite what you still have, but you want to clean up your numbers. Your numbers that go in front, I have 7 and 3. Well, you want to clean those up because you want to clean up as much as you can. 7 times 3 is 21. Okay. Alrighty, let's do this problem right here, problem C. Again, I see division, and I'm like, okay, I need to keep the first fraction, x plus 4 over x squared minus 9. I'm going to change the division to multiply. And I'm going to flip my second fraction. So flip that second fraction. The x minus 3 is going to go on top, and the x plus 4 goes on bottom. Now this is a problem that I am comfortable with. Somebody please tell me in the chat, what is the next thing I have to do? What is the next thing that I have to do? What's something important that I have to do here? Before I can cancel, I can't cancel anything out right now. What is one thing I need to take care of? Factor, good, thank you. I need to factor. I hope you agree with me that this one doesn't factor, this one doesn't factor, and that one doesn't factor. I do need to factor the x squared minus 9. Alrighty, so this is a difference of 2 squares problem. I have 2 things where the first thing is being an x squared. So some of you are like, well, why does this not factor, but this one does? The first term has to be an x squared in order for it to factor. Anytime you have just x plus or minus a number, it doesn't factor. If you have x squared minus a number, it will factor. So I have take the square root of both. I have x and 3. So that's going to factor. I'm going to rewrite x plus 4 divided by, my new bottom of this fraction is going to be x plus 3 and x minus 3. That's how we factor x squared minus 9. Times, nothing factored in this fraction, so x minus 3, x plus 4. Now everything is factored, and I can go do my favorite part, which is my canceling. I have the x plus 4s that cancel, and the x minus 3s on cancel. Again, really quickly, pay attention to this part. There is nothing left on top. Again, just like that problem when there was nothing left at all, if there's nothing left on top, there is a 1 on top. If there's nothing left on top, there's a 1 on top, and then we still have x plus 3 on bottom. So my answer is 1 over x plus 3. If there's nothing left at all, there is a 1. And if there's nothing left on top, there is a 1. X plus 3 is in the bottom. It needs to stay in the bottom. So if you forgot the 1 and you just put your answer as X plus 3, that's no longer in the bottom, and that's not right. Oops. Alrighty. So if there's nothing left on top, there is a 1 there. Alrighty, we have one last problem. You guys are doing an awesome job today. One last problem. Alrighty, the last problem. Whoa, too zoomed in. The first thing I notice is that I am dividing. So I'm going to notice, I call it keep, change, flip. When I divide, I keep, change, flip. I keep the first fraction, change this to division, or change this to multiply, and I flip the fraction. So keep, change, flip. So first you rewrite. You need to rewrite your fraction using keep, change, flip. Keep the first fraction, 2x plus 6 over x squared plus x minus 2. Change division to multiply and flip your second fraction. X squared plus 3x plus 2 over x plus 3. You got to do that first before you factor, before you do anything. Now I'm ready to go about. This problem, there's a lot that's going to factor. First thing, this is the first problem of the day where I have a greatest common factor. Based on our problem yesterday on our quiz, we need a little bit more review with that. I see here that if anytime you have a number in front of your x, you should be weary on if you can take that out. That's a hint. Anytime there's a number in front of your x, you want to see if you can take that out by using a greatest common factor. So I notice that I can take a 2 out of both of these things. So doing this work over here, I have 2x plus 6. I can take a 2 out of both of those. So you should try to get rid of that number in front of that x. When I do so, I'm going to write it on top over here. I put that 2 in front of a pair of parentheses. And I'm left with x. 2x divided by 2 is just x. Plus 6 divided by 2 is 3. All right, so I factored, and the new top of my fraction is 2 on the outside, in parentheses, x plus 3. The work I showed is right there, though. Then I need to factor the bottom, x squared plus x minus 2. Well, I need to find the factors of negative 2 that add to 1. Well, I have the factors of 2 that add to 1. Well, the factors of 2 are just 1 and 2. So I hope you agree with me that 2 minus 1 will get me 1. So x plus 2 and x minus 1 will do the job. Times, I want the factors of 2 that add to 3 then. Well, the factors of 2 again are 1 and 2, but I hope you agree with me that 1 plus 2 will get me 3. So both of them will be positive, x plus 1, x plus 2. And then my denominator will not factor. I have x by itself plus a number. Alrighty, so this was probably our most difficult problem so far just because a lot of things factored, but the factoring wasn't too difficult. If you need extra factoring practice, please reach out to me and I will get it for you. All right, now I can just go cancel away. I have x plus 3's that cancel. Leave that 2 in front. I have x plus 2's that will cancel. That's it. That's the only things that will cancel. So rewriting what I still have. Don't forget about this 2. This 2 did not go anywhere, so I'm going to put that in front. I have 2. And then I also have this x plus 1 didn't go anywhere, so that's going to be in my answer. And then on bottom, I still am left with an x minus 1. I can't cancel, do not cancel these x's. You cannot separate addition and subtraction. One, they're in parentheses, so you can never separate parentheses like that, but you cannot separate addition and subtraction. Some of you guys wanted to do that on your quiz.